What is up, book nerds? My name is Hillary, and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about the books that I own that I think are going to be 5-star predictions. So, without further ado, I don't want to make this a long intro. Let's get right on into it. The first book on this pile that I have over here is one that I've never really read a book by this author before, but this one sounds really, really good, and I've heard great things about it. And that book is Billy Summers by Stephen King. From what I understand about it is that it has like an assassin in it, and he is just got out of jail or something like that, and he's being hired for a job. And I've never really read like I said, a Stephen King book, and usually his books are scary. So this one was a different one that I saw from his usual stuff, and I'm excited to read this and see what I think about it, and hopefully I love it, because if I love this, then I'm going to start reading more Stephen King. The next book that I have that I really do believe is going to be a 5-star prediction is also one that came out in theaters, I think, the end of this last year or the beginning of this year, and that book is Dear Evan Hansen, and it says it's by Val Emmich with Stephen Levinson, Ben Pasek, and Justin Paul. And this is about a boy who is going through depression, and he goes to therapy for it, and one day he is writing himself letters, because that's what his therapist told him to do, and tell him about his day. And the bully of the school gets a hold of it because he prints it off in the library and steals it. And so, little does he know, the parents of that boy comes into school and something happens with him, and they think that Evan Hansen was his friend. And I really think this is going to be an emotional book and heart-wrenching, and I most likely am going to cry reading it, because the movie, just the trailer, makes me think that I will too. And I am very excited to read this one, and I've heard great things about it. And before you read it, make sure you check the trigger warnings, because it does talk about depression and anxiety and suicides. The next book that I have here is one by an author that I read one of her books last year, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I am very excited to read this next one, and I'm surprised I haven't gotten around to it yet. But that book is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is about two girls, and one is in modern time, and this other one is from the 1970s, and she's on this subway, and she can never leave. She's just stuck there. But that's what I know about it, but I'll read the inside of this book for you. But it says, for cynical 23-year-old August, moving to New York City is supposed to prove her right that things like magic and cinematic love stories don't exist, and the only smart way to go through life is alone. She can't imagine how waiting tables at a 24-hour pancake diner and moving in with too many weird roommates could possibly change that. And there's certainly no chance of her subway commute being anything more than a daily trudge through boredom and electrical failures. But then there's this gorgeous girl on the train, Jane, dazzling, charming, mysterious, impossible Jane. Jane with her rough edges and swoopy hair and soft smile, showing up in a leather jacket to save August's morning when she needs it most. August's subway crush becomes the best part of her day, but pretty soon she discovers there's one big problem. Jane doesn't just look like an old school punk rocker. She's literally displaced in time from the 1970s, and August is going to have to use everything she tried to leave in her own past to help Jane. Maybe it's time to start believing in some things after all. This one just sounds really good, and I am really stoked to get to this one, because I know Casey McQuiston came out, I think, with a new book this year, and I'm excited to read that one and see what I think about it. But yeah, I really think this is going to be a 5-star prediction because her last book, I believe I gave 5 stars too also. This next book I have here is more of a memoir, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to give it 5 stars because I love this actress when she played on Gilmore Girls, and that book is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. From Gilmore Girls to Gilmore Girls and everything in between. So I think a lot of this has to take, well, obviously it's about her life growing up, but I think it's only going up to when she was filming Gilmore Girls. And Gilmore Girls is just one of those shows that I absolutely loved and watched every day after school. And I am very excited to read this and have had it for a while, and I think I'm going to try my best to get to this one this year and to finally read it. The next book on this list, or in this stack, that I am excited to get to for a 5-star prediction is See Me by Nicholas Sparks. This one came out a few years ago, and I love Nicholas Sparks books, so usually when they come out, I always try and get them because I know I'm going to read them. I own almost all of his books, but this one says, See me just as I see you. Colin Hancock is giving his second chance his best shot. With a history of violence and bad decisions behind him and the threat of prison dogging his every step, he's determined to walk a straight line. The last thing he is looking for is a serious relationship. Maria Sanchez, the hardworking daughter of Mexican immigrants, is the picture of conventional success with a degree from Duke Law School and a job at a prestigious firm in Wilmington. She has a seemingly flawless professional track record, yet Maria has a traumatic history of her own. A chance encounter on a rain-swept road will alter the course of both Colin's and Maria's lives. As love unexpectedly takes hold between them, they dare to envision what a future together could possibly look like, until menacing reminders of events in Maria's past begin to surface. Nicholas Sparks is an amazing romance author, and I think there's only one book that I really don't like by him, and don't come for me when I say this, but that's The Notebook. I just think that book is very boring, and I think I don't like it as much because I've seen the movie so many times growing up, and it's just, I don't know, I don't think I could read the book anytime soon. But this one sounds really good, and the way that Nicholas Sparks writes, especially his characters that have something traumatic with them, is so good. And I have not read a book by him for a while because for me I have to be in the mood for him, but I'm really thinking this year is the year that I'm gonna get to a bunch of the other books by him that I haven't read, and this one just sounds like it's going to be a 5-star. This next book is one that I've never read another book by this author, but I have another one of hers, but I think this one's going to be the 5-star out of the two, and that book is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. I believe this is about a hotline, I think for like kids who are going through issues, and like they have those what are they called, like a anonymous phone lines where you call and you get help. I think that's where this one comes in at, but I've heard great things about this book, and they say if you really like this one, then go read her other ones. But this is one of her, I think, most hard-hitting books, they say, that she wrote, and I am excited to read this. I just kind of have to be in the mood to read a hard-hitting YA book, because if I'm not, then it's not going to be the 5-star that I was hoping it's going to be. But I'm really excited to get to this one. These next two books are part of this series, but they're spin-offs of that series, and I really think these are going to be 5 stars because I know that I love the characters in these books, and I am excited to continue on this series. But those books are King of Scars and Rule of Wolves by Lee Bardugo. So these ones have King of Scars and Rule of Wolves follows Nikolai from the Grishaverse, and he was one of my favorite characters. I thought he was hilarious, and I'm excited to see where he's at, especially after Ruin and Rising, because he ended up turning into a creature in that book, and I just want to see the aftermath of that and how he's dealing with it. But you also have, you have Nina Zenik from Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and the ending of Crooked Kingdom, what she went through was so heartbreaking. So I want to see where she's at with it. And then you have Zoya, who I absolutely hated in the trilogy of Shadow and Bone, because she was just so mean in that one. But I'm hoping that she changes her ways in these two books, and I'm just excited to jump back into this universe, because Shadow and Bone, that trilogy, I really wasn't a big fan of, but Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom I absolutely loved. So, and I've heard if you love those, then you'll love these, because these are, especially if you love the characters that are in these, it's going to be a wild ride. The next book I'm going to talk about is one that I read, the one book by this author, and I absolutely love this one, and this one is kind of like a prequel to the first one, but that book is Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, and this one is about Maverick, who is Star from The Hate U Give's dad, and his life growing up, becoming, I think he's 17, becoming a dad for the first time, and growing up in a gang and doing things he's not supposed to be doing, and you really get to know what he went through and why he is the way he is in The Hate U Give. But I loved Maverick in The Hate U Give and thought he was a great character and a great dad to Star, and I'm excited to read his story and get to know more of his background. This next book is one that is very popular on Book Talk, and I've heard it's a very sad book, so before you go and read this book, make sure you check the trigger warnings in this, because I've heard there's a lot. So that is my warning for you to go and check out before you read this or buy it. But that book is A Little Life by Hanya Yangihara, and I'm just going to read the back and tell you what it's about and go from there. But this says, A Little Life follows 4 college classmates broke adrift and buoyed only by their friendship and ambition as they move to New York in search of fame and fortune, while their relationships, which is tinged by addiction, success, and pride, deepen over the decades. The men are held together by their devotion to the brilliant, enigmatic Jude, a man scarred by an unspeakable childhood trauma, a hymn of brotherly bonds, and a masterful depiction of love in the 21st century. Hanya Yanagihara's stunning novel is about the families we are born into and those that we make of ourselves. This one sounds really good, and I believe they're putting this in as a classic, but I am excited to get to this one. The next book I'm going to be talking about is an author that I've never read before, but I have a couple of his books, and that book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is a sci-fi, and I believe it's fantasy also, and it's very popular on BookTube. I heard like Mel from Mel Reads talk about it, and just a lot of people, and she's the first one I can think of, but I think a lot of the booktubers I watch have talked about Brandon Sanderson's books, but I'm just going to read the back of it and tell you what it's about. It says, the mists rule the night, the Lord ruler owns the world. Once a hero arose to save the world, he failed. Ever since the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist, controlled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. But hope survives. A new uprising is forming, one built around the ultimate caper, the cunning of a brilliant criminal mastermind, and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a street urchin who must learn to master the power of a Mistborn. This is the first in the series, but it's the only book I have in this series. But I'm excited to read this and hopefully give it 5 stars because I just want to love this as much as everybody else does and see what I think. The only thing I'm worried about is that it's a sci-fi, and a lot of times sci-fi just don't agree with me. But we'll see, and I will let you guys know what I thought about this one whenever I read it. These next 3 books that I'm going to be talking about are all part of a trilogy, and they got very popular last year. That's when I started hearing about them on BookTube. But those books are The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, European Travel for the Monstrous Gentlewoman, The Sinister Mystery of the Mesmerizing Girl. All 3 of them are by Theodora Goss, and I'll read the back of the first one and let you know what it's about. It says, Mary Jekyll, alone and penniless, following her parents' death, quickly finds herself drawn into the secrets of her father's mysterious past. A clue leads her to believe that Edward Hyde, her father's former information consulting in his capture, a reward that would solve all her immediate financial woes. But her hunt brings her not to Edward Hyde, but to Diana, his daughter, a near feral child left to be raised by nuns with the assistance of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Mary continues her search for the elusive Hyde, and soon gathers around her more women, all of whom have been created through terrifying experimentation. Catherine Morieu and Justine Frankenstein. When their investigations lead them to the discovery of a secret society of immoral and power-crazed scientists, the horrors of their past soon arrive on their doorstep as well, and now it is up to the 5 women to stop the malicious I can't say those words. Quite simply, it is time for the monsters to triumph over the monstrous. I do believe that all 3 of these books are going to be 5 stars because I've heard great things about them, and I don't think I've heard anybody say one bad thing about them. The last books I'm going to be talking about, there's 4 of them, and they're all part of the same series, and I believe all 4 of these are going to be 5 stars because I read this author's newest series, but it's only a duology right now because the 3rd book comes out this year, and these books I've heard good things about. And the books that I'm going to be talking about are Stalking Jack the Ripper, Hunting Prince Dracula, Escaping from Houdini, and Capturing the Devil, all by Kerri Maniscalco. Stalking Jack the Ripper, from what I know, is about a girl who wants to become one of those, I can't remember what they are called, but it's where you go and like you get the bodies ready after they pass away or do like the autopsy on them. But she wants to become one of those, but back during this time, women weren't allowed to do that. And I guess this woman, well, and all of them that come in, all the victims that come in are all women, and she's trying to figure out, I think, who is doing this, but she's also getting stalked by Jack the Ripper, like she could be his next victim. But I've heard great things about these books. A lot of them say you either like them or you don't, but I have high hopes for them because I love Kerri Maniscalco's Kingdom of the Wicked series so far, and I think these are going to be just as good. That is it for this video. If you have read any of the videos, leave a comment down below and let me know what you rated those books. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to know when I am posting next time, hit that subscribe and that notification bell, and you will be the first ones to know. And until next time, keep on reading, people. Bye!